as we are a compilation of habits of thought. Those habits of thought are known as our attitude. They constitute our attitude, and that determines who we are. Now, those habits of thought, in turn, govern our belief systems. Our belief systems manifest themselves into behaviors, and from behavior, those behaviors come out as actions. Now, every action will give you a result. What we don't generally have is a tool that can measure that result, because we don't know often whether we're going forward or backwards, or are we somewhere in the middle. Now, if we have a picture of what we want, which you will have done through your needs analysis sheet, let's have a look at that. Are those the things that you want? If you haven't got them, it's because your behavior hasn't lined up with activities that you need to undertake to get to that point. What SMI has got is a tool that will measure your starting point, and this is like any journey. You need to know where you're going from and where you're going to. So inside of that, we set up a rail. Now that rail is held together with goals, and we call those sleepers in mechanical parlance. Now those sleepers are designed to stop the line from splaying or from pulling and missing your target. Now, what we have is everybody has sufficient intellect to be successful. Because of the way our brains are structured, we actually hide a lot of information and pack it away very carefully, like putting it into honeycombs, like a bee's honeycomb, where it sits unused. Okay? Now the SMI material can sit alongside you, and it starts to float the stuff that's been stored. All this intellect that's been stored, it floats it up, which becomes a very, very powerful force. And this in turn allows you to use it much more readily. So inside of that, we have studies that show that most people work between 9 and 12% of their potential at any given time. With this behavioral change, you're starting to use more of your intellect as you go. And that can go to 15% to 20% and above, who knows. Now, what happens on the right here is, with this, because of the power, you're starting to get an exponential behavioral swing. That behavioral swing will give you incredible results in every area of your life. And it works like this. If we all have a world view, how we see the world today, from a financial perspective, from a behavioral perspective, from relationships, etc., etc. Now, if we take this cone and we change the pivot by 1 degree at a time, what happens to the outside arcs? They grow and they grow. Suddenly you've got nearly double the vision and the scope of accepting opportunity. So 1 degree can change everything. 1 degree in water can change how it functions and what you can use it for. Water boils at 100 degrees, and 101 degrees it becomes steam. Steam can power a train. Hot water makes tea. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a powerful train, or do you want to be a cup of tea? This material, we are starting to line up the number of thoughts we have in a day. The number of thoughts daily are massive, with some studies saying there are about 70,000 thoughts, with others saying there are many more. With this process, if you start to align them up and you get 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, suddenly you can see all of this exponential growth taking place. That's how it works. So, what do? We use spaced repetition. That's how you learned everything. Talk, write, count. We use SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time measured. We use timelines. We use multi-sensory learning, that is we're using your eye, your ear, and tactile writing. We use experiential learning. Now, experiential learning means that everything in your day becomes part of your classroom, part of your learning experience. How much time does this take? This takes about 20 minutes of audio a day when you're not busy, and you take 1 hour with in a classroom situation, one-on-one or in groups, once a week for 12 weeks. The program is a 4-week program, and it's repeated 3 times. That's to really sharpen up your time performance. Any questions? You'll probably have 2 questions for me. When can I start and how much? So for that information, please click here.